Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's live training webinar. My name is Ian. This is a very special live webinar. We have two very special guests with us who will get introduced here in just one moment. All right, it looks like most everyone can hear me and see my screen clearly. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're going to jump into our first slide for today. So today, as I mentioned, is to July 26, 2023, and today is a very special day. We have some very special guests with us, and let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda for today. So those special guests are going to be Dustin, Owen, and Mike Smalley, and they're going to be discussing the daily habits of power users here within Jungo itself. Basically, we're going to see how a top 1% originator uses Jungo to their advantage, and we're going to hopefully pick up some tips and tricks from them. And then followed at the end, we're going to have a bonus Q&A session. So in that same area that we did the sound and screen check, we're going to be turning it over to I'm going to sound screen check. You'll want to go ahead and put any of your questions that you have in there. And then once we get to the end, we're going to be turning that over to Dustin and Mike for them to answer any of those questions that you guys may come up, as we're going through the presentation today. So, but if you guys don't know, Dustin cooperates an 11 branch network that funds over $1 billion each year. He also coaches fellow loan officers so that they can reach their true potential. We'll also be doing that Q&A session with them at the end. So again, these are experienced veterans, so just take into account that this is a great time to pick their brain. Now also with Mike, who's also joined us, he is a Jungo power user and is a top 1% originator. So he's also very good at what he does, and he's going to be showing us how he uses this Jungo system to his advantage and kind of touching on just some of the things he does on a day-to-day basis. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and now I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Dustin.
Hey, thank you so much for that invite. I see there are 76 of you on this call. That is phenomenal to see that 76 mortgage professionals who are taking their business serious, who have understood the power of needing a CRM or database management. Some of you may have heard of this little podcast called the Loan Officer Podcast. Some of you have not. I connected with Jungo a little bit through the podcast, first as a user, but second through the podcast. I started a podcast about 3 years ago. It's called the Loan Officer Podcast. And for the past 3 years, we've been growing out that audience. Some of you tuned in, some of you don't. For those that tune in, I say thank you. For those that have not, I would encourage you to check it out. We created a podcast that is fun, entertaining, educational. It's for loan officers and their clients. And something that I get to do hosting a podcast with 2 episodes a week is I get to connect with top producers throughout the entire country. These are guys and girls that W-2 over $1 million doing what each of us does as a living. Now, I am not a podcast host full time. I started this business in 2004 as a rookie LO. In 2008, I met this guy by the name of Mike Smalley. Mike ended up becoming my business partner along with a third partner, David Holbrook. We have been in business together running a retail mortgage operation for the past 15 years. And when I met Mike, Mike taught me one incredible business technique that I was failing on. And what that was is I was not housing my data. I was not running a systematized, process-oriented business. And because of that, I was missing out on opportunities to convert leads, missing out on opportunities to market to my database, whether that was to realtors or whether that was to past clients. And most importantly, I was doing nothing to help convert all of the leads that I was out there generating. So through this 15-year partnership, I've been able to grow as a professional, and I've been able to watch Mike Smalley grow as a professional. And I'm honored that I could convince him to do this with us, because to me, Mike is one of the best mortgage originators who is currently actively originating that I know. I've watched him take his business from 30 million to 60 million to 90 million. After last year, back down to 50, 60 million. But the past couple months, he's been funding 7 million, 8 million a month. The one thing Mike does better than anyone that I've ever met, he relentlessly pursues all leads, and he databases like crazy. So when Jungo and I were synergizing on ways that we could bring more value to the mortgage loan originators, I thought, why not introduce you all to my business partner, one of the best mortgage loan originators that I know, someone who has grown his business through understanding the power of CRM and the power of database marketing, and let him share some of his day-to-day what works for him, in hopes that you can learn one or two things, swipe them, adapt them, and then most importantly, implement them. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce Mike Smalley to you guys today.
All right, thanks, Dio. Okay, so we should be able to see my screen. And okay, cool. You're on my Jungo. Okay, awesome. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us today. So Dustin and I have been Jungo users almost 5 years. Prior to using Jungo, we ran through a couple CRMs. We used Act from 2003 or 4 until about 2012. We worked with Top of Mind Surefire for a couple years, and we actually kept using Act. And the way we found Jungo was we wanted something that basically did it all. We wanted something that it ran the automated campaigns like Surefire, Top of Mind Networks, and it allowed us to do customization and truly store data and run reports like Act. And so Jungo to us is a one size fits all. So what I'm going to walk you guys through today is kind of the life cycle of a lead. So we use Jungo to market to our prospects. We use Jungo for in-process marketing. We use Jungo for post-closing marketing. And we also use it to manage our referral accounts, so realtors and builders. And so I'm going to hit on as much as I can today from a high-level standpoint, and then Dustin and I will be able to take some questions as we go as well. So I don't know the experience level or how detailed you are in using the system. So this may be basic for some people, it may be over some people's heads. I'm going to try to keep it where it'll be relevant for everybody. So I'm going to share my screen here, so you should be able to see my Jungo. One of the things that we find the most value in is the ability to customize, and so we have unique layouts for borrowers, which would be under the client ID, and realtors, which would be like under referral accounts. And so I'm going to pull up a borrower and just kind of walk you through how we use some of our contacts. So this is a lead that I got literally yesterday, and I'm going to type his name in. And we've got phone numbers and cell phones and information and whatnot here. But what I want to point out on the right-hand side of the screen is this is where I load in my conversation notes. So every conversation we have with a borrower gets loaded in Jungo. You'll notice mine says MS, that's my initials, that's because I have a team. If Jenny Garrison of my team loaded a note in, it would say JG for Jenny, so we know who all had conversations. So immediately when we get a lead, whether we've pre-approved them or not, they go into Jungo. So for us, what does that look like? If I talk to a lead on the phone that has not yet applied, I would go to contacts, I would go to new, and I'm going to create a new account manually. If I have an application show up in my inbox and I get an email that they've applied online, we use Encompass as our software. So if it's an Encompass, it would sync to Jungo by the time I reach it. But for us, getting them into Jungo is the first step. A realtor calls me up and says, Mike, I have a lead who is going to call you. That goes into Jungo. So every opportunity we get gets put into Jungo, whether they're a person that's supposed to call us, someone we're trying to reach and haven't yet reached, or someone who has applied online. If they have good credit or bad credit, if they qualify, if they don't, if we have their documents, if everybody goes into Jungo. We are pretty religious about using the conversation log because we feel like that helps us keep track of conversations and what next actions are. I'll show you some examples of that. I did briefly here a minute ago. And then the other thing we do is, and one of the things we like about Jungo is we've built out some pretty unique drip marketing campaigns. So for prospects, this document I've pulled up here, so we built out a 7-month Jungo prospect campaign. This started about a decade ago, pre-Jungo, with Dustin creating some content that we thought would be relevant for barbers. We've adjusted, we've tweaked, we've had our marketing department help us make some changes over the years. And the current version of this is a 7-month, so 210-day drip marketing campaign that is built into Jungo. It can be co-branded with a realtor if that's appropriate. And every lead we get gets automatically scheduled with this campaign. So as soon as we create the account in Jungo, it's automated. The document you guys are seeing right here, for us, is really a marketing document. When I'm meeting with realtors, one of the things I explain to realtors is that something that makes us unique is that we really, really do a good job of lead follow-up. I would say my team individually, I'd put us up against any loan officer in the country as far as following up with leads, working leads, for our own benefit, but also on behalf of our realtor partners. And this document is something I share with realtors when I meet with them, so they understand that we have a system and a campaign and a process to follow up with leads to try to help increase our lead conversion and then in turn their lead conversion. So what you're seeing here is the schedule of the materials. So day 1, there's an email. Day 4, there's a text, and so on and so forth, going out to 210 days. So it's a 7-month campaign. So to us, that's really, really important. To jump back into Jungo, if I go back into a prospect, we've created a couple customized fields that I feel like are very, very valuable to us. And they're down here, the last phone call and next phone call. When we were looking for CRM, what led us to Jungo was the ability to customize and build reports and create workflows. And so the last call, next call feature of this allows us to load that we had a conversation today, load in what the notes were, and then schedule a next phone call. And after I've completed this task today related to this lead, I can basically set it and forget it. And I can trust that the system will remind me to call this person tomorrow, which is July 27th. I have another lead that I talked to earlier today that's a little bit less time sensitive. My last phone call is here. My next phone call is the 16th. My last call was today. So this one, it's set it and forget it. I called today. I'm not going to touch this lead again until August 16th. When I come into the office on August 16th and I pull up my leads to call that day, this person's name will pull up. If they happen to call me tomorrow and say, hey, we actually want to make an offer, we're under contract, or something that would require immediate action, then I would just simply type their name in and search Jungo. But if nothing happens with this lead between now and August 16th, I can trust that on August 16th, I'm going to walk into the office and this person's going to be on my list of people to call. The feature that we use that helps us do that is the contact lists. And if you're a Jungo user and you're not using contact lists, I would encourage everyone to spend some time understanding how these work. So to look at the contact list, you click on contacts. It's going to pull up whatever list I have. So on this drop down here, you can see all of the custom lists we've created over the years. I mean, there's about 100 of them. Some we use more often than others. The ones we use most frequently, we actually name it a number and then whatever the list is, so it shows up at the top of our list. So a common list that I use would be what I call today's TBDs. A TBD to me is a lead I need to follow up with. So if I click on today's TBDs on my contact list, this is a list of every lead that myself or someone on my team has to call today. And how we define that, within the contact list, you can create rules. And our rule is any lead with a next phone call today or sooner. You'll notice this lead here, he has a next phone call of today. So he shows up on that today's TBDs list. You'll also notice that there are leads that we might be past due on calling. So this, let me find one here that's a little bit older. I'm gonna scroll down here and I'll find one. Okay, so this lead here has a next phone call of July 17th. You can see I'm 9 days past due calling this person. This person is going to stay on my list even if I'm past due. So for us, today's TBDs on this contact list, which is the leads I need to call today, is everyone with a next phone call date of today or sooner. If I wanted to create an additional list, I could edit this and I could have it only people who the next phone call is actually today. So that would get rid of the people that I'm past due on calling. I could create a contact list called like past due TBDs, which would be every lead that has a next call date of yesterday or sooner, and that would be the people that I'm behind on calling. But just kind of wrap a bow around the prospect piece of it. As soon as we get a lead, it's into Jungo. We use custom features, last phone call and next phone call, to drive actions on our daily call lists. And we use the notes religiously to keep track of conversations. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on realtors today, but we manage our realtor follow-up the exact same ways we manage our lead follow-up. I have a last phone call for the realtor. I have a next phone call for the realtor. I load in my conversation notes of conversations we've had. And then I have custom lists created that group my realtors based upon realtors that I need to call today, which would be like kind of like a hot realtor call list. Or I could break it down by categories. So for example, a lot of people in the industry do status updates on Tuesday. So Tuesday status updates, Tuesday listing agent phone calls, whatever you want to call it. We have custom lists created for all of our listing agents. So on Tuesday, I can pull up my contact list. I can go to listing agent. I can make my Tuesday status update calls to the listing agents and all my transactions on Tuesdays. And again, just to circle back to the prospect drip campaign, it's all backed up by some automation we have built in here. Okay.
Mike,
Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
a common question that you get often when you're coaching loan officers is, well, how do I know when to call that TBD? So how do you and your team know when to schedule that next phone call for?
Yeah, I think for us, a lot of it's feel. So if I have a person that is actively looking at houses on a regular basis, we're probably calling them once a week to check in. And I typically call those people on Mondays or Fridays. Mondays typically is a day you get a lot of leads. You also have people who are out looking at houses over the weekend. So we tend to do a lot of like our hot lead calls on Monday. And then Friday, you might be touching people before the weekend to run numbers or see if they're looking at houses or anything, to try to be proactive so you're not getting a bunch of phone calls on Sunday with payment estimates. So I tend to call those Mondays and Fridays, typically about once a week. Could be every 2 weeks if they're not as active, and it could be 2 or 3 times within 1 week. Like if someone called today and they were making an offer and they wanted to run numbers, and I might call them again tomorrow to see if the offer was accepted. I might push that call till Friday if the offer wasn't getting submitted until late tonight. But to me, it's a lot of it's feel. We tend to do our colder leads on Wednesdays. So I think I've probably called 30, 35 today. Those tend to be leads that we're calling once every 3 weeks to 3 months. I had a person I talked to that was referred to me by a builder. It's actually a decent example here, so I'll pull him up. So referred by a builder. We like to use the stage as well and keep that updated. So this person has not applied yet. So my stage, they should be applying online. But I had a note here from a few weeks ago that their lease is through February. They're thinking about buying a resale, not building a new custom home. So was going to be a construction loan. Now it looks like it's going to be an in loan, probably an in loan in January, not a construction loan today. So my last phone call was today. My next phone call was September 13th because my last note from earlier today was leaning towards buying a resale when the lease expires, and the lease expires in February. So for us, it's a little bit of feel. This person will not show up on my list until the 13th. One other thing I wanted to point out, and I think this can be very, very valuable, in particular to our referral partners. You'll notice that this person was referred to me by a builder. If I click on the builder Michael and go to his account, one of the features that we really like is the referrals received tab. And so I can either hover over this and it'll show referrals he's sent me, or I can click on it and it actually takes me into a list. This list view here is all customizable. So some of these fields are fields we created, some of them aren't, but the order that they show up in here is customizable. So we've taken the referrals received tab and customized the view. And where I feel like this is valuable to referral partners, I can call Michael, my builder, every week and do a status update. And I can run through all of the leads and give him updates. I can sort it by the referral date. So, most recent to oldest. I can sort it by the last time I've called them. So most recent to oldest. I can sort it by the next phone call I have scheduled over here. And then there's the field last touch is the note from the last phone call. So
and if you, I want to interject real quick, Mike, because I want to brag on you a little bit. If you want to dominate your game, literally calling your realtors with an update on a lead that they gave you 3 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago, it's a reason to call an agent. We're always looking for reasons to call agents. Why not call them with an update on a lead that they maybe even forgot that they sent you? And then the more organized you are, the much easier and efficient it becomes to go through said list. And that's a great way for loan officers in general, but definitely top producers like Mike to stand out. Right? Some people say, oh, I do hard loans or I speak a different language. Mike says, I relentlessly pursue leads until they buy or die. In fact, Mike, what's the longest you pursued a lead that actually closed?
I mean, it's been 3 or 4 years probably.
Yeah. So someone referred you a loan.
Buy, die, or file a restraining order.
Okay. Buy, die, or file a restraining order.
But it's
because I think from the sales side, people need to know that.
Right. And when we coach our loan officers, so and yeah, I know people can't answer this question, but has a loan officer ever called a realtor and said, hey, realtor, refer me because I don't have great rates? Hey, realtor, refer me because I don't have all the products. Hey, realtor, don't refer me. I can only do easy loans. Every loan officer goes to realtors and says, refer me. I have great rates. I close on time. I provide communication. I can do the hard loans. Like every loan officer sells the same thing to realtors, and realtors have gotten really good at tuning us out. If every one of us tells the realtor, use me, I communicate, we all say the same thing. So what my team does a little bit differently, and I think it's a kind of a sales approach that we should all use. We ask questions, but we ask questions where we know we're going to get the answer we want. Okay, so what I mean by that is I like to ask realtors questions. Hey, realtor, how's your lead follow-up? Because I know the answer that most realtors are going to give is going to be something along the lines of, ooh, yeah, I'm not great at it. It's really hard. I could be better. I've yet to meet a realtor that when I've said, hey, realtor, how's your lead follow-up process? Do you feel like you're converting as many leads as you could? In 21 years in the business, I've yet to meet a realtor that says, oh yeah, Mike, I've got it dialed in. I'm crushing it on lead follow-up. I convert everything. No, the nature of their business is they run around town in their car trying to keep their head above water all day long. They're bouncing from appointments to showings to closings to listings and inspections, and they're getting all kinds of emails and texts and phone calls thrown at them all day. It's really, really hard, darn near impossible for realtors to stay on top of their leads. So if I know realtors aren't good at that, I know I can be because I'm more in my office. I leave my office to go to appointments, but I'm in an office. I'm not running around town all day like some realtors are. So I can provide a lot of value with lead follow-up. Jungo obviously is a huge tool with that. So my sales approach to realtors always leads to a question, how's your lead follow-up? I know the answer is going to be, I struggle. And as soon as they say that, I know I have a good opportunity, because then I can say, great, let me show you what we do. And oftentimes it's literally sharing my screen with them in showing them what I do in Jungo. And then it's sharing this document right here. And then, like you said, Dustin, then the proof is in the pudding. So then over time, as we're doing lead follow-up calls and we called them to update them on a lead that they probably forgot about from 6 months ago, then it really drives home the fact that we're a valuable piece of their business. The builder I highlighted, I got that builder's business because we follow up with leads, and the builder gets a lot of leads. The builder doesn't have time to follow up with all those leads. So my team is basically that builder's inside sales team. We're following up with leads, we're qualifying them, we're reporting back to him on a weekly basis. I have 3 realtors that we have standing Zoom pipeline meetings every week, 1 on Monday, 2 on Tuesdays. We jump on Zoom for 15 to 30 minutes and we just go through my whole Jungo lead flow. Everyone that's tagged to them with status updates, I share my screen, they can see the notes, they're updated. And so if you think about that, think if that realtor works with 2 loan officers and I have a tool like Jungo to show them status reports and I can screen share it, I can export it to an Excel spreadsheet, and I can give them updates on all their leads, and another loan officer they work with doesn't, it's going to take a few months, but over time, they're going to transition all their business to me because their business is much easier to manage if I'm the loan officer who has the buyer versus the other loan officer who doesn't provide that type of status updates to them.
Mike, something that Mike taught me years ago, right? I think I shared one in the intro. I got in the business in 04, but I didn't partner with Mike till 08. From 04 to 08, I had no lead follow-up. I had no past client database. I had no way of tracking my activity. I met Mike and he started teaching me the ways, and all of a sudden my business took off because of it. But through the podcast and through a website that we built out for loan officers specifically, I have found that you all, LOs, you love scripts. So if you're following and using Jungo and you have the prospect campaigns, the in-process campaigns, and the post-closing campaigns, you now need a way to sell it. So I want to give you a quick, easy takeaway how I sell our Jungo system to realtors. I go out to realtors and I tell them, look, I'm going to help you increase your lead conversion ratio by 10 to 20%. That 10 to 20% is going to equal 1 closing per year. That's my way of giving back, putting money in your pocket. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about this 7-month purchase campaign. I'm talking about my team and I picking up the phone and relentlessly pursuing all leads and being able to track it because we utilize Jungo. So that's a way that I add value to my realtors. And then I tell them the way that I help you in process is because I track all of this and proactively communicate through status updates, right, that are automated. You should be less worried about this transaction and focused on that next listing or converting that next home buyer. And then what I want to do as well, and I can do this because of my system and the services I subscribe to, I want to increase your past client referrals. And I do that because I utilize a software and I have campaigns built out that I want people not to just remember you, but to remember me. So that's all things that obviously you all are Jungo users. That's why you're on this call, and hopefully you're getting some tips and tricks on how to better use it. But I wanted to throw in there for you how to better sell it. Like what's a good script that could be used on top of obviously doing everything Mike just said. And it blows people's minds if you can consistently do it. So just want to quickly interject right there, give everyone a quick script they may want to use.
And Dustin, so a lot of us are asked by realtors to help co-market with them, Realtor.com or Zillow or conversion, things like that. So let's say a realtor wants you to spend $500 a month on marketing. That's $6,000 a year. A great way to combat that and to pay every realtor in your city a couple $100 a month for internet leads is to show them that if I can help you use that script, get 1 more deal per year. In our market, the median sale price is around $400,000. So average commission's 5%, 2.5 on each side. So, $400,000 sale is 10 grand. So if I can get you 1 more deal that earns you 10 grand, that's 10 grand's greater than 6 grand in Zillow. So that's another way to alleviate some of the request to co-brand a lot of marketing expenses.
Yeah, and Mike, before you start driving again, I'm gonna give one more give me to everyone. I see we're pushing on 100. That's pretty awesome attendees on this call. This is for the branch managers, sales managers, or the broker owners. out there, and Mike's probably going to kill me because I'm going to give away his secret sauce. If you want an easy way to attract originators into your brokerage or into your branch, literally build this out, hire an admin who understands CRM really well, focus on the automation, and then when you're out talking to other mortgage professionals, the difference between them working somewhere else or them working for you is when they work for you, you are handing them all of this CRM, all of this data with an administrator who's going to help them build, manage, and market to their database. It's the way that Mike Smalley and his partners literally went from one branch of 3 LOs to 11 branches with 65 LOs, from doing 40 million a year to $75 million a month, even in a market like this. So definitely consider that as a leverage for those that manage or own their own brokerages. But Mike, I'll mute myself now and let you get back to driving so they can see.
Yeah, and our Dustin, our longest tenured team member on our team, Melanie, who's been with me since 2006, but even before you and David and I connected, Melanie over the last 18, 17 years has really become the expert, who drives the ship with Jungo. So yeah, if you're part of a larger group, or you're looking to make a move to someplace that utilizes Jungo more effectively, having an administrator that runs the CRM for you wherever you work is extremely valuable. Getting into some of the things that I'm not going to cover today, but Jungo with the dirt marketing campaigns and email blast and text blast and things like that, for our team, like we farm that out to Melanie, who basically runs the CRM for us. So if your company's on Jungo as a company, on like a kind of a global platform, talk to your marketing department about doing something like that. I want to transition into some of the in-process stuff, just to kind of go through the life cycle. So we use Encompass, and we have a one-way sync, Encompass to Jungo. We don't sync Jungo back to Encompass, just from Encompass to Jungo. At each milestone, so you can see for us, it's ready for disclosures is when the app goes out into processing, appraisal ordered, submitted to underwriting, clear to close. At these 5 key milestones, when Encompass syncs to Jungo and tells Jungo that milestone's been cleared, we have a text to the buyer, email to the buyer's agent, text to the buyer's agent, email to the listing agent. This is all content, email, and text that we've created over the last 15 years and tweaked and adjusted. There's some key asking for referral moments in here. You'll notice we don't do a loan approval. So submitted to underwriting, we don't have a conditional approval. The reason for that, in our old CRM years ago, we actually had a conditional approval automation, and we felt like borrowers got the conditional approval automation and celebrated like they were clear to close. So we don't send out anything at conditional approval. That's a phone call from our team members. Depending upon the team, the workflow could be the LO, LP, or processor. So we don't do that milestone, but then we do clear to close. A few ways I sell this, and Dustin started to use some scripting a little bit, but Realtor, you don't have to worry about babysitting your transaction looking for status updates. It's automated. You're going to know each step of the way where the file's at based upon some of the automation we have. And one thing that I like and what I really sell is I can't stop this. We've built it where it's automated, and I can't opt people out of receiving this. And as a loan officer, it was a little bit nerve-wracking for me at first, knowing that all parties were going to get emails and texts when the loan went to underwriting, because there might have been times in the past that I might have said, oh yeah, we're going to underwriting when maybe we weren't. And I think a lot of LOs are guilty of that, of maybe bending the truth or telling a little bit more positive story than it really is. What I found over the years is knowing that everyone's going to be communicated to that the loan's going to underwriting through Jungo when it actually happens, and it's within an hour typically. We sync every hour. I can't lie. And the file that is behind schedule, I need to make sure I over communicate that we might be behind schedule, because I don't want people to get a submitted to underwriting that might be a little bit behind schedule and freak out. So knowing this is automated and I really can't stop it actually makes me a better loan officer. So anyone who uses any type of in-process milestone updates, I'd encourage everyone, make it where it's automated at each milestone where you can't opt people out. It'll make you a better loan officer. But this is our in-process campaign. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight, and I don't have our post-closing campaign up here, but we're limited on post-closing. We have about 5 or 6 touch points that go out at about 120 days out, first payment reminders, reminders to file for homestead, things like that. More of the post-closing stuff we do is less dependent upon the date they closed and more just dumping all of our past clients into one big pot where every past client gets a quarterly video market update or happy whatever holiday we pick, email or text message. I do want to show one thing, and I think this is part of the power of Jungo, of the customization of the database. So obviously we're not in a refi market right now, and we were a couple years ago. And a few years ago, we all did a lot of loans. Myself had my best year ever in 2020, and 2021 was really good too. But I feel like a lot of times when we go into these refi markets, we do well, but we don't do as well as we could have. And I did like 95 million in 2020, and looking back, it's like, oh, I could have done 100 if only I would have done something different, and that would have been squeezed out a few more refis out of my database for me. And so I anticipate we'll start to enter somewhat of a refi market here at some point. I don't know if we're 60 days or 6 months from seeing rates drop. I know there's a Fed meeting like literally going on right now. And that'll be interesting to see what happens today and later this week with PCE and some in GDP tomorrow. But we're going to have a refi market at some point. But the quantity of refis that we'll see, whether it's later this year or 2024, is going to be nowhere near what we saw in 2020 and 2021. So for us to take advantage of the refi opportunities that are available in the next 6 months to 24 months, we're going to have to be even better at managing our past client database. In 2020, I could have posted on Facebook, rates are 3. If you want to refi, call me, and probably got 15 DMs and Facebook or Instagram. And we're just not going to have that kind of refi market. So we've tried to proactively start building some things out and trying to almost tee up future refis. I feel like every loan I do today at 6.5 or 7% is a potential refi in the future. And so I just want to highlight a few things. And again, it's the power of Jungo's customization that I really believe in. So this is a client that just closed about 2 weeks ago. If I hover over the loans, you can see that they closed on the 13th at 6.25, 664,000. That's a potential refi. I think it's a 70 or 80, relatively low LTV, but at 6.25, I know at some point we're going to hit a refinanceable rate. And so what we created was a field, and we literally did this 2 months ago, called refi target rate. So every client that I've closed since around July or August of last year, when rates started to be elevated, really anyone who's closed over like 6 in the last year or so, we're loading up a refi target rate. And so for this particular client, the refi target rate's 5%. So when I do my post-closing calls, and I do my post-closing calls the 4th Friday of every month. So this Friday I'll call, I think I had 18 closings last month or something like that. I'll call everybody who closed last month this Friday. As I'm making my post-closing phone calls, I'll make sure I look at their loan and put in a refi target rate. And obviously that's not an exact science, I'm just ballparking it. But again, the power of the customization, refi target rate is 5, okay? I can go into my contacts and I pull my custom list up, and it might take me a second here to find it, but we built out a report, and I believe we called it like past client. I'm just trying to see if I can find it here. If not, you guys can get the gist of it. But basically what we did is we did a custom list, and one of the fields is refi target rate. And what I might do here, if I just can't find it there, I'll just go to see if it's on this list real quick here. Yeah, okay, so no, that's, there we go. Okay, so these are 2023 closings sorted by refi target rate. So you can see just people that I've closed this year. I think I have 15 people that when rates hit 5.5, they can refi. Now, certainly LTV and product, and is it FHA, and are they going to be able to drop their term or LTV? You know, some of those things are a little bit up in the air, but I've identified 15 people that at 5.5 could potentially refi. And then if I drop it down to 5.25 and 5 and so on and so forth, you know, you can see I've got some opportunities for future refis. So what we'll do with these people is in the future when and there's a little bit more customization we'll do with this, but you can get the gist of kind of the view here that I've got. But what we'll ultimately do is we'll build out some marketing campaigns. We can do group text if I you know kind of highlight these 10 or 12 people at 5.5 star number. I can do a group text from Jungo to these 15 people and identify that they've hit their target rate. So again, the customization I think that allows us to do I think is really powerful. Some people who are newer to Jungo, newer to our team, will ask questions like, does Jungo do this? Does Jungo do that? And my answer to most people is, the answer is almost always yes. It's just a matter of building it to do what we want it to do. So if I wanted Jungo to pull up a list of every realtor that has referred me a closed loan this year, I could build a report. I could build a contact list. If I wanted to build a list of every realtor that I have not called in the last month, I could pull it up. If I wanted to tell me every realtor that I called yesterday, I can build it like that. Every lead referred by a certain realtor or builder, I could do that. I could run a report. I think FHA loans are going to be a little bit more difficult to refi going forward because it's going to be harder to do streamlines because you're not going to have par plus pricing to pricing closing cost into the rate premium. Not sure values will have gone up enough where some people who did FHA are going to have enough equity to roll closing cost in. So I'm not sure FHA loans are going to be as refinanceable as they were in the past. So I think more of our refis are going to be your 20% down conventional types. So I could run a report. Tell me every conventional loan with a loan amount above X and a rate above X that close within certain timeframes, and Jungo could do that. And then if I wanted to take it a step further, I could do a group text or a group email blast with an email or a video email to those people. So again, one of the things that led us to Jungo 5 years ago was just the ability to customize it and kind of build off the platform. Last thing I've got, Dustin, and then I think we've probably got some Q&A time. I mentioned I wasn't going to spend a lot of time on realtors. I just want to highlight one thing, and I briefly did it earlier with the builder. But so this is a realtor I do a lot of business with, and you can see I've got last calls and next calls and other data in here. We added some fields just recently for closings referred to track how many transactions they refer you. This realtor, I haven't updated it. That's kind of a manual calculation going back to like 2017. But if you ever want to determine, is a realtor still referring me, go to referrals received. And for us, I would sort by most recent referral date. Oh, here we go. So, I've got 3 this week. So this realtor still refer me. But if there was a realtor that you felt like you were losing contact with, type their name in, referrals received, and that'll identify how recently they've referred you business. You can pull closing reports year to date. So I think a lot of us, if you were in sales outside of the mortgage business, let's say you were a title rep. Title reps have accounts, mortgage companies. If you were a bread salesperson, you would have accounts, might be convenience stores. And most large corporations, salespeople have referral accounts, and they manage those accounts based upon how many orders they got, the revenue that their organization brought in. And I think in the mortgage business, we don't do a great job of that. Most LOs don't do a great job of tracking where their business comes from, and Jungo allows us to do that. So I use the referral piece, the realtor piece in here, as much to communicate to them as we do how to manage the relationship. Are we getting business from them? And if not, what can I do differently? And I haven't highlighted some of the campaigns, but we've got a number of automated drip campaigns that go to realtors as well. Just didn't have time to highlight those today.
Mike, how many hours a day do you think you spend inside of Jungo?
I mean, I'm in it all day, every day. I mean, I'm not necessarily clicking buttons in Jungo and loading notes in, but if I'm prospecting, making phone calls, I'm in there. So, you know, I try to prospect at least 5 hours a day, and prospecting could be calling leads, calling realtors, calling past clients, you know, handling, you know, meetings with people, things like that. So, I mean, it's one of the first things I load up in the morning. You know, when on my screen share here, you can see one Jungo tab open, but if you really looked at my computer on my other monitors that are pushed off to the side, there's probably about 35 different Jungo tabs open, and I just kind of hammer through leads and, you know, as I'm making my phone calls.
Yeah, no, I asked that a little bit as a layup because I've seen it by being in your office, but I've heard you coach loan originators. Mike has 3 screens. He has Outlook, he has Encompass, and he has Jungo. And he couldn't imagine his day not having those 3 as his prominent. Now, I'm sure you have MBS Highway and you may have Mortgage Coach and you may have multiple Jungo screens, but when I look at your 3 screens, that's what I see if I just walk past your office. I'm going to thank you for all of your time. Yeah, we do have, I think, about 15 minutes or 13 minutes to take questions. So I don't know how Eric and Ian, y'all facilitate that, but
Yeah, cool. Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and I've got some questions here for you guys, and I'll go ahead and rattle them off for you. The first question always pops up too, just for all the viewers here. Will this recording be available for later viewing? It will be available in the Jungo Training Center, and it will be emailed out, I believe, to the attendees as well. And also, I'm going to be going through their mic, and I can actually blur out any identifying information and stuff like that too. I'll do that in the editing process at the end. So the first question we have here is, how do you determine what goes into your hot leads list?
I don't use, I know there's a Jungo, like, I think kind of custom report or dashboard view called hot leads. So I'm not sure if that's the question. I don't use that because that's a kind of in the box kind of Jungo provided. We've customized our own. So my hot leads are the leads I need to call today. So we created the fields last call, next call, and anyone with a next call of today, to me, that's a hot lead. It could have been from 6 months ago. But if my next call was today, that's on my today's list of people to call. I briefly showed that list also includes people who have a next call of sometime in the past, meaning someone that I'm past due calling. And so the people that are on my today's TBDs list, which is my leads to follow up with today, I've never once gotten through every person on that list ever. There's too many people. So within that list, you know, we certainly prioritize who to call, knowing that we're never going to get through everybody on that day's list each day. And I prioritize it by the stage. So if someone is pre-approved with documents, and that means they're actively looking for houses, I'm probably going to call that person before the person that is applying online who hasn't responded yet. So I hope that answered the question. If not, I can clarify a little bit more if I need to.
I think that's good. Just kind of maybe how you prioritize people on calling is good. That's good information. Now, the next question here is I can answer for Nick Velez, I think is how you say it. Can we get linked to someone somewhere to learn how to create the TBD list in the contacts tab? Nick, we can actually help you build out something similar to that works for you here at Jungo. So you could just open a support case and we could guide you through that. Also, one question that popped up, and it says, do you use the Refinity feature to update realtors on status?
We've tried it. Dustin and I run a pretty big organization. We've got like, I think 8 or 11 branches and 75 LOs. So it's a little bit difficult for us to do it on a large scale because we have LOs that are power users like me. We have LOs that I'm not sure if they know how to log in, but we have a Melanie, and our Melanie knows how to run the database for them. So if an LO, and I think that's one of the beauties of Jungo at an organization level, is if you're at an organization that promotes it and supports it from at the organization level, a lot of the things that get done for you, like we have LOs that literally don't know how to log in. Now, I would argue that they might make more money and do more loans if they put some effort into it, but some people just don't find the value in CRM management. So for that person, all the automation is still getting sent to their clients, their leads, their in process, their post closing, their realtors, things like that. So we don't use Refinity on a global level. We have LOs individually who do it and send the automated reports. You've got to be really committed, in my opinion, to getting good data in there, because you don't want to do that unless you're putting the right data in. I found for me that I prefer a phone call with the realtor and a screen share on Zoom where I can kind of show them visually a report of the leads we're working, just because I like to get them on the phone.
Cool, awesome. And then this little praise, it says you have customized those stages like mad, love it. So I thought that was a cool little praise there. And then I think this question, I might need a little clarity from Matt if he wants to add it in, but how does the text feature operate? And I'm assuming that's probably, the text feature usually operates through flows or automations on the back end. That's how we're deploying them out. And so I think that's probably what your question is. And if you have questions about how to set that up in your account, Matt, we can definitely help you out with that. So again, just opening a case with us and we'll guide you through that process. Okay, it looks like we got another question about Refinity here. It says, let's see, another one. Do you and your company make the build out the 7-month prospect campaign workflow? Like, do you make it for other people or anything like that, or is it just an internal thing? I think is what they're asking.
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so here's the difference of a Mike Smalley and a me. Mike is a super user, power user, top 1%er. I'm your average ordinary LO. We knew early on we had to build this out for people more like me, and then give them access to someone like Mike who can help them become a super user. So every one of our LOs, whether they like it or not, they have a Jungo account. They're getting the 7-month drip campaign because it's automated, right? So if it's automated, it speaks to our LOS, which is Encompass. They're getting the in-process campaign because, again, it speaks with Encompass. It's still not the same as them becoming a user and a driver and picking up the phone, but it's better than nothing. It gets them at least halfway there. Same thing for the post-closing campaigns. And then most importantly, and this was my tip or my hack to the brokerage owners or to the branch managers, invest in a Melanie and have that person manage the database on behalf of the whole, because our LOs, even those that don't get into Jungo, they know that we house all of their data. So if they can send Melanie an email that says, please send me a list of X, or if they can create a video using their phone and they can text that to Melanie and say, please deploy this to my entire realtor database, it can get done on her behalf. For us, it's our secret sauce, and we just let you guys have it for free.
Cool. Awesome. One other question we have here, is there a reason you do not use Jungo leads? Do you have issues with the LOS creating duplicate contacts in Jungo?
I don't know what Jungo leads is.
Oh. So Jungo leads is actually one of our in-house systems that we use for people that are maybe using like Zillow or something like that to produce their leads. But it sounds like you get all of your own leads yourself. So maybe that's probably the reason you don't use Jungo leads.
No, I can take part two though. So part two is a great question. Yes, 1000%. We have a problem with duplicate accounts. So whoever answered that must be a power user of Jungo. So I encourage our LOs to put the contact in Jungo as soon as they get a name and phone number. So a realtor sends me an email or text introduction, they go into Jungo as I'm calling and making my first phone call. When that person applies online, and which is typically after hours, I come in my office the next morning and there's typically a duplicate account in Jungo because I don't have their birth date, which is, I believe, the field that, kind of verifies if it's the same person. So, or like I might put in Mike Smalley and they might apply as Michael or junior, senior, something like that. So yes, that happens very frequently. I would say most mornings I come to the office and I have 1 or 2 duplicate accounts from applications that came in after hours. And I said we have a problem with it because it happens a lot. It's not a big problem because all we have to do is there's a couple clicks of the button and I merge them. My team tends to go into the right contact, and I guess there's like a way where you can merge them. What I tend to do is I tend to go to the right contact. I put the birth date in there, I delete the old one, and then I can go into the loan and I can sync the loan to the right Jungo like contact. So it happens, yes, it's probably 15 seconds to fix it. And I usually do that about twice a day.
Okay, cool. And do you use individual and mass SMS texting to clients and realtors?
I'm not, hope this doesn't make anybody upset. I'm not a fan of the Jungo text feature. I don't like that it goes 5 digits. So we don't send individual text from Jungo because it's a 5-digit phone number that it comes from. So we only use the texting from Jungo on the automated campaigns. And then one of the challenges we have, because we have 75 users, is it texts from a 5-digit number. When that person replies, it doesn't go back to the individual LO because we've got I'm not sure what the term is, but big account. So it goes to an email address we created called loanupdates@waterstonemortgage.com. That goes to Melanie, who runs our CRM, and then Melanie figures out what LO it goes to. So we only use the texting when it's part of the automated campaign. So prospect, in process, and a little bit of post close. We for texting, and we're on a Zoom phone system, and we can actually text from our landline. So with our organization, most texting we do is from our landline through Zoom, and then I use easy texting for group text because it comes from my office phone number. So I like that better than a 5-digit number.
So actually, we've updated that system to a new system. So we actually sends out a full phone number now. So it's actually no longer 5 digits.
I was hoping you said that because we've been pushing for that for a while.
Yeah, that was probably the old version that you guys are using. We've actually updated all that now. So it works a little bit differently. But if you want to look into that later, we could talk about it. But this is a little shout out to Dustin here. I just would like to show this. It says, hi, Dustin. I got into the industry back in May, and your podcast has been one of the most valuable sources of information for learning about the industry. I was not passing this learning opportunity and wanted to thank you for what you do for the community. So,
how about thank you? And keep tuning in because we love doing what we're doing. We just relaunched a website that is literally branch manager in a box. So if you have a great branch manager, cool. Let us be Uncle Dio and Uncle JC and Uncle Mike. If you're lacking some of that leadership, we just built a website for you, tloponline.com. TLOP stands for the Loan Officer Podcast, right? So tloponline.com. Y'all should check it out. Loads and loads of content, training, marketing ideas, scripts, you name it, it's there.
And I think that kind of goes into the next question here. It goes, how does someone who is young or brand new to the industry generate their initial leads when starting out as a loan officer? So,
hey, Dio, can I take this one real quick and you can answer it too?
Yep.
Okay, so we have a younger loan officer in Tampa, and I was on a call the other day and I shared with some of our loan officers and I said, I bet if you walked around town with one of those spinners, the turn here, come to my restaurant spinners, and it said, I do mortgages, that you would get mortgage leads. And so our branch manager, Chris Smith in Tampa, made t-shirts that said like Waterstone Mortgage on the front, and the back it said like, I do mortgages, ask me a question. And he got his whole office to wear them around town all week. And one of his new loan officers, Grant Lee, literally got 3 leads in the first week by wearing a t-shirt.
Wow.
So I think, and Dustin probably has a really good answer too, I think as salespeople, we make things way too damn complicated. We overthink things, we make them too complicated, and we don't take enough action. And so I think literally if you walked around town, you tell everybody you know you do mortgages, you post on social media, you make them phone calls, you wear a goofy t-shirt, you're going to get leads. One of the things that's unique about what we do in the mortgage business is we sell a product that everybody wants because they want to buy a house and very few people can pay cash for it. And our target audience is 68% of homeowners. Like I saw the other day, there's this big, news push about electric cars, and that electric cars went from like 2% to it's like 6 or 8% of the country right now. So everybody wants a car, right? 100% of the population wants a car. But if you're Tesla, and which I think might be the most valuable company in the world by market cap, or they're right up there, them and Apple go back and forth, I think, they're only selling to 6 or 8% of the marketplace. And the product we sell, mortgages, 68% of the market needs what we sell. So I feel like, leads are endless and the opportunities are endless. Just don't overcomplicate it. Wear a goofy t-shirt and you'll probably have people ask you about mortgages.
Yep. And in some of my coaching sessions, I'll echo that. I've told loan officers, get 100 business cards, go stand at the hot dog stand at the local Home Depot, hand out a card and say, I do mortgages. Let me know how I can help. That's very basic. Can you make it trust based? No, most of us built our books of business by finding who are the people who can refer us the most often, the most frequently. Those are realtors. Those are more realtors. Those are realtors again, and then home builders and financial advisors. Right? That's the top 5. You have to find a way to network with them, call them, connect with them on social, DM them, message them, text them, get to know them, and understand it's a numbers game. You may have to meet 100 to find your 12, but your 12 could refer you 1.5 closings a year, which if I do my math correctly, it's like 18 closings. Let's say your average loan size was like a little over 300 grand a year. That's 6 million in volume, which means if your comp plan's 100 basis points, that's 60 grand. Cool. Those 12 each know 12, and those 12 are going to have listing agents on all of those transactions. You give yourself 2 or 3 years, 12 turns into 40, and then 40 becomes 100. Once you do 100, you're cooking with grease. You are becoming the next Mike Smalley. Hopefully they answered your question.
And Dio, one thing we teach is we call it the wedding strategy. If you're looking like, how do I build my initial list of realtors? So pretend like you're getting married and you have an unlimited budget. So there's, you can spare no expense, and you can have 300 people to your wedding. Make a list of 300 people that you would invite to your wedding that live within, let's say, driving distance. So, let's call it 2 hours of you. And that's where you start. Get those people into Jungo. That becomes your, I would put it in as like a center of influence group, and just start working through and calling 5 of those people every single day, asking them who they know. A great thing to post on social media is, if you were going to sell your house, who would you use? And all your friends on Facebook will then start tagging all the realtors, and then all those people that get tagged that are realtors get put into Jungo. They go on your call list, and you can start casting a wide net like that. But there's a number of ways to start building that initial list.
And get out there and do it. For the younger, newer people, get out there and do it. We all sucked in the beginning, right? You learn as you grow, you fail forward, you pick yourself up, and then you invest in calls like this, right? You invest in going to conferences, you invest in coaching, you subscribe to certain websites. Like you become resourceful if you really want it.
All right. I know we're past the 12 o'clock mark here, and I've got a few more questions. So I'm going to say for our users, just maybe don't put any more questions in. So I want to make sure we get all these questions answered, because I think a lot of people are enjoying this. But this comes from Chad, and it says, do you utilize any of the dashboards?
So great question. I would completely admit that we could do a better job of using the dashboards. And I think by dashboards, my view of that is like the homepage, when I log in. So we've tried to build some of the reports and have it show up on the dashboard. Like if I look at mine, I have lead tracker on there. I have leads this month. some of the custom lists we do a birthdays today custom list, which is everybody with a birthday obviously of today or birthdays tomorrow if it's the weekend. So we haven't used those probably to the degree that we could. We have the custom list built, but we should probably move those where they show up on my dashboard. I guess it's maybe called the control panel.
Okay. Got it. Now, another question we have here, started Jungo a year ago, but there's so much customization available and haven't been able to effectively use it in my business. As an experienced Jungo user, where should I start and what should be the focus?
I would say, like anything, so the users, the LOs that we have that don't use Jungo to the degree that they could, they don't log into it every single day. And I think Dustin asked me that question when we first started, like, how often do you get in or how much time? And I'm like, half my days in Jungo, with phone calls and notes and stuff. But that same loan officer who doesn't use Jungo, they know how to originate a loan because they get an Encompass every day. They know how to send an email. And so to me, it's just a commitment thing. Like RLOs that don't use the CRM to its fullest capability use Encompass and Outlook, and they know how to get on the internet. So they just don't commit to using Jungo. So I think literally commit to logging in every day and just building that daily habit. Like I think today's call is daily habits of top Jungo power users. To be a Jungo power user, it has to be a daily habit, right? I would start with lead follow-up because that's what you do the most of. And so I would make sure I'm calling my leads and putting my notes in through Jungo that way and build that habit. And then maybe transition to using it to managing your realtors and so on and so forth. I would start with your lead follow-up because that's what you're doing every day.
Got it. Okay, cool. How do you use the system when you're out of the office, whether after hours, weekends, on vacation, etc.?
I use the Salesforce app. And I'm on a laptop with a docking station and 2 monitors. So if you were to look at my screen, I have three monitors, my laptop and 2 other externals. And I have the exact same setup at home, and I have the exact same setup at my hunting place in Georgia. So I can take my laptop anywhere and kind of be like I'm at my office with 3 screens. So typically I'm on my laptop if it's nights or weekends because I take it with me. But if I'm driving, which I spend a lot of time on the phone, like Dustin and I talk all the time. We spend anytime we're in the car during work hours, we're talking to somebody, whether it's a lead, recruit, client, LO that works in our team, whoever. So if I'm making phone calls through Jungo, I'm using the Salesforce app, and I can load my notes in on the Salesforce app just like I was on my computer. In fact, and I haven't tried this, and you guys might know, but I'm pretty sure the Salesforce app will let me voice to text my note, and it will show up in my conversation log like I typed it in. I'm pretty confident one of our LOs I feel like has done that before, testing it out. Not sure if you guys know if that's capability exists or not.
I am not aware of that, but that is something that we may have to look into seeing. That'd be a really cool selling point on that for sure.
But the Salesforce app, literally, it's the same username and password. It looks like I'm in Jungo. It's just a little bit, it's an app, so it's a little bit shrunk down version, but I can see everything in the app that I would see on my desktop.
Great. All right. And then another one, it says, Mike, thanks for sharing how you use Jungo. Is it possible to get a copy of your presentation slides, 7-month prospect campaign workflow and process campaign, etc.?
I can show people what we use. It's not going to help much though, because the content, the copy isn't there, and we're not allowed to share that. That's an internal Waterstone kind of proprietary tool.
Got it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I helped write half that content, and I'm pretty sure my copyright is written all over it.
Yeah. Can all the team members see the text back and forth with the prospect, or only the one who sent the text?
You guys might be able to answer that from the Jungo standpoint if you send it through Jungo, because if it goes to a 10-digit number, not the 5-digit number, if someone responds, do you guys know where it goes? Because for us, it goes into an email inbox.
Yeah, so with the new one, I didn't know if you guys had a little different setup on your end with it. With ours, with the new system, basically what will happen with the texting is that there's actually a Jungo SMS box on the contact page and on the loan page that's connected, and any conversation that's coming in to that's related to that person's phone number or that person's texting, that conversation will be showing up there on the loan and also on the contact record page. So if you have more questions about that stuff and how that works out, be sure to open a case with us. We can definitely help you out with it. All right, this is another question from a question for Frank regarding Encompass. It says, are you on the Broker's Edition? And if so, have you considered swapping LOSs? We are on the Broker's Edition and it's kind of a nightmare. Seems like everything we've ever wanted to do requires Banker Edition. So we're considering Lending Pad, and I'm just wondering if you and or Dustin have any thoughts on them.
We're a mortgage banker. Our company's big national firm, so we're on the Bankers Edition. And I don't know. I'm not. Dustin, do you know anything about the other CRM? I'm not familiar with it.
Unfortunately, Frank, we can't help you with that.
Yeah, we've been on Encompass since we got to Waterstone 15 years ago.
Got it.
That's really cool. The only thing that we know.
Have you tried using the sync feature with Jungo and Outlook? And if so, what has your experience been?
We have LOs that want their emails from Outlook to sync to Jungo. I personally feel like that's a little bit unnecessary. Mm-hmm. I just feel like it clogs up my Jungo conversation log with a bunch of stuff I don't need. If I really need to see an email that someone sent me and I deleted it, I just go to my deleted items or I go to my sent items in Outlook. So I personally don't do that. I think I want to keep my Jungo pretty clean, which is just my conversation notes. So I'm not scrolling and scrolling and scrolling trying to find a conversation from a month ago, because there's 37 emails that have shown up in there and get in the way.
Good point. Okay. What is and I'll answer this one here. It says, what's the best way for one-man shops to get Jungo training for those of us who don't have a Melanie and resources to create all these reports and open support cases for all the different options? So Jolene, that's something that we could actually help you out with. If you are wanting, it sounds like you might be wanting some pro services, and that would just be simple as opening a case with us and we can look into helping you out with that. But you'll want to reach out to, basically learning how to do whatever it is that you're wanting to learn how to do, and we can train you on how to do that. All right, so let's see.
It's good for people to know real quick.
Yep.
When I met Mike Smalley in 2007, he was a broker, right? He owned his own brokerage. It was essentially just he and Melanie, and he was a hardcore CRM user. Right. So I share that for encouragement because, it's like anything. It starts somewhere and it starts with consistency. You see Mike today, but you see the 15-year version. This is what you can become, but don't get discouraged, right? Because he was once a small independent mortgage broker.
Yeah, and if you're trying to customize Jungo yourself, just make sure that's not done 9 to 5, right? 9 to 5 selling time. I mean, certainly if there's a training webinar or something you're doing, but if you get on a training webinar and you learn how to customize a feature that you want to customize, do it after hours. I made the mistake myself of, our old Act CRM, I literally customized everything myself and built everything out and designed all the fields. And that was kind of fun and creative. Doing that from 11 to 1 on a Tuesday was probably not my highest and best use. But I did it because it made me feel good about myself, and it was not, calling a realtor who might tell me to, get lost. But probably be better off calling the realtor who might tell me to get lost and do my customization after hours or around the weekends, like Saturday morning, block off some time, to tinker with it then.
Cool. I think that's good. Brian, I'm not going to skip your question here regarding option to text from the user's number now. If you have questions about Jungo SMS, go ahead and open a case with us. We'll help you out with that. And then the last two questions we've got here. The first one is, what are the stages you use for contacts? Lead, prospect, pre-qual, client, etc. And what groups do you have to organize?
So we only use client as the group. For any borrower. So lead, in process, past client, every borrower is the group client. I don't like to use other groups, because if I use the group client, then I can build custom lists that can incorporate every borrower, no matter what stage they're in. So I only use client for borrowers, no matter the stage. The stages, so lead is what it syncs to when it comes over from Encompass. I would say most of our LOs leave it at that. The ones I use, I have still trying to reach is one. That's someone I'm calling that haven't got them on the phone. Applying online once I've had a conversation and I've sent them an email to the online app. And then I use pre-qual without docs, pre-qual with docs. You can kind of see why we differentiate those. That's kind of one of the ways I determine if it's a hot lead. We do a full underwrite before someone has a property. So we'll underwrite a TBD address and give a loan commitment before they make an offer on a house. That's a kind of tool we're using now to help get offers accepted in a multiple offer environment. So we call that internally platinum pre-approval. So I have a platinum approval stage. So earlier, one of the questions was, how do I prioritize who I call? I'm calling platinum approval, then pre-qual with docs, et cetera, et cetera. And then we have a credit repair stage. I didn't show, but we have a separate credit repair drip campaign that's not part of the 210-day regular prospect drip campaign. We have a credit repair one that I feel like lasts 6 months. If someone has like in Florida, there's a bond program that requires a 640 credit score. If someone has a 630, I'm not calling that credit repair. If someone has a 570 and it's going to take 6 months, I call that credit repair as the stage, and then I would put them in the credit repair drip campaign. But those are the main ones. And then once the loan goes into processing and disclosures go out, then it automatically syncs to in process as the stage. And then once it closes, it automatically syncs to close client as the stage. And I think I have one other one called not ready to pre-qual, which is obviously that kind of self-explanatory, someone that's not quite ready to do anything yet.
Awesome. Well, that pretty much takes up all of our questions. I know there was the last question was on there was regarding the actual web address for the Loan Officer podcast. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over and make myself the presenter here. And I'm going to put that information up for you guys. So let me go ahead and do that now. All right, so we're going to go, this will be the actual website here. So you should be able to go to tloponline.com, and that's going to be for the Loan Officer podcast there for Dustin. And again, we want to say thank you guys both so much for attending today, or attending and just letting us pick your brain. And we just definitely appreciate your time as well. And also all the attendees today, we appreciate you guys coming out and taking the time to show up and hear what these two amazing guys have to say about the loan industry. And one question I have is, where do you guys see the industry going right now? Like, do you see, I know I just saw that the Fed rate has actually went up by 0.5%, and so they might be opening up again. Do you see that, like, of what you guys are seeing? Are you guys seeing trends or anything like that? So
Justin, I'll take the LO view and you can take the high level view. So I'll do the LO real quick. So cool. LO view is the best time I've seen in 21 years to get business from realtors cool. and or builders. There's so many of our competitors that are out of the business. There's so many that are crying in their Cheerios that it's not as easy as it was, especially your veterans. So if you're newer and you're maybe intimidated because you're not as experienced as some other LOs, that's actually an advantage right now, because your 15-year vets are thinking they crushed it in 2020 and 2021, and they're like, oh, I don't want to go through and climb that mountain again. And so they're kind of burnt out. So use that to your advantage. So I don't think there's ever been a better time to build a long-term sustainable referral-based business than there is today. And we're going to head into a refi market in the next 6 to 24 months. So there's, it's going to be a really good market again. So this is when you make it, like Dustin and I built our branch in 2009 and 10 when it was challenging. We built it in 2018 and 19 when it was really challenging, and we're building it now when it's really challenging. So that's, you build it when it's tough. So LOs, opportunity is endless right now. It's just not easy, but it's not easy, which makes it even more opportunity.
I couldn't agree more, Mike. The only thing I disagreed is you said it hasn't been easier. I would guess 2009 and 10 was, or 10, 11 was easier to build. However, our loan sizes were 1/3 of what they are. And if you saw what we had to suffer through to get to that opportunity, I can see where Mike says this is the best opportunity to grow, but it's going to require you to grind. Like literally, I tell our LOs, blinders on, heads down, and you have to mush. And I'm projecting 6 to 9 more months of this sludging through the slop, but you're doing something that others aren't willing to do. It always reminds me of, it's a Warren Buffett quote, and I'm probably going to butcher it like I do most quotes, but I'll do my best. But it goes something along the lines of, be fearful when everyone is greedy, and be greedy when everyone is fearful, right? So if you are going to be greedy in 2020 and 21, like, oh my gosh, look at this business, look at all the money I can make, you probably weren't building a sustainable business, you weren't laying the right foundation. If you can take that mindset and say, wait a minute, people are ho-humming, they're getting out of the business, mortgage companies are failing, you should say, good, this is my opportunity to put my head down, my blinders on, and grind. But I see us having another 6 to 9 months of what the past 2 or 3 months have been like. The good news is every day we are getting a little bit better. Every day we're climbing out of that hole. Every day when another LO doesn't renew their license, good. Every day when another mortgage company fails, good. As long as we're focused on doing what we need to do, which is get up every day, put on your uniform, go to work. And if you're at work, work. And when you're working, do the right things, which is what Mike said, the green time, the prospecting, the lead generating, the sales calls.
Awesome. I think that's great insight, guys. I appreciate that. All right. Well, I'm going to move on to our last slide here. And again, thank you guys both so much for being here. Just for some of you, I know that there's some of you guys here are leads with us here at Jungo, possibly considering using our system. And so just so you guys know, you can get a free demo of the system just to basically see how everything works. And we can show you how all of that goes down. And you can schedule time with us at the link I'm going to go ahead and put here in the chat. And then also, there's gonna be a little chat down here. You'll also find the Loan Officer podcast link in there as well to get over to Dustin's podcast. And then for those of you that already have Jungo, we hope that maybe coming to this event today has sparked some ideas for you. We're gonna be offering a nice little customization special for you. So we're going to be offering a $40 off every hour of pro services for any purchases. So if you are wanting to say like, hey, these guys got something, it's kind of lit a fire somewhere and you want to start doing some customizations, we are here to help you with that. And again, $40 off every hour of pro services.
Can I just add that, you guys invest in that. I mean, we have a Melanie, and she knows, does some customization. We spend money customizing. So it's money that's valuable because customizing the workflow that you want will make it so much more efficient to use the tools.
We appreciate that, definitely. And if you guys are ready to do that and move forward with any of that kind of stuff, you could just open a case with us and just click the Pro Services option when you go to select the case. Also with that, we have an upcoming webinar just to kind of keep the mastery going. Next week, we're going to be covering how to master your everyday tasks with Jungo. We know that some people use tasks as a way to kind of keep things going smoothly in the office as well. So we're going to be covering ways that you can use that within Jungo to your advantage. And with that, I just want to say thank you guys all so much for attending today. Any other questions that may come up after today, please go ahead and open a case with us and we'll be more than happy to reach out. But with that, we hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend, and thank you again to Dustin and Mike for attending today.
Yeah, and connect with us on social. I mean, he's Michael Smalley on LinkedIn. I'm Dustin Owen on LinkedIn. We both are on Instagram. We're both on Facebook. LinkedIn's my preferred, but connect with us. We make ourselves available to loan officers throughout the country.
Awesome. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much again, and we hope to see you guys at the next webinar. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye. For more solutions and additional training materials, please be sure to check out our training center found in Jungo. You can also access Jungo by visiting help.ijungo.com.